But the last 2 years, in the wintertime, I would get a cold and it would stay. It would become like bronchial thing. It would last for 2 or 3 months. And it really was bothering me. This happened at the beginning in 17 and 18. And it was really bothering me, these long colds. I was getting almost afraid of my own health. So when it came to June of 2018, we just, actually Pluto's exactly on my moon to the exact minute of the degree tonight. So I'm at the last hit of it. But on the third hit of it in June, I found out I had diabetes. I thought I had a prostate problem, but I went in, it turned out it was diabetes B, but I had to go through adjusting my diet, cutting out sugar, getting rid of fruit juice, which was doing it to me, and getting rid of sugar. And it's taken me this whole time of June to January to get my sugar rates and everything down and running fine and being in control of my own lifestyle again, and it's feeling good. I got rid of a lot of bad stuff. That was a proactive one. In the same time, I had to get a prostate test to see if there's cancer. That was a big fear. Oh my goodness. And I finally went through the test and it came through and I didn't have cancer. But it builds up until the last day or two and you're doing it. And I wanted to get this done. If I'm going to find out if I have it, I had to find out what Pluto was hitting my moon because I wanted to know before. If it's going to come up, let's find out. You know, okay, God, make my day. Let's find out. So the day or two before, it was I was on another plane. Like I had the fear. I'm worried about it. Someone's word can just say something in a minute. All of a sudden, I got to change my life in a more serious way. But in my common sense, I thought I lived pretty good. I didn't live badly. I didn't eat a lot. I didn't smoke. I didn't drink. So half of me says, no, I couldn't be that. And in the end, the guy says, your health is, there's no prostrate. It's fine. So it was a big relief. So that's just passed. So this was the Pluto opposing my moon. At the same time, I have a grandson who's on the streets and having drug problems and stuff like this. And he shows up back and forth through this, and I can't help him. I try and I get wrecked. I can't help him. I have to lock him out, sometimes not let him in. And it's been very confronting and really hard for my moon Cancer to deal with. So all of this was tied up to the Pluto opposing my moon. Now I'm finished it and I know, okay, I've got my lines drawn. I've got the health adjusted. That's it. I'm ready to go on. I've lost, you lose innocence with Pluto. So I've lost some innocence. I had a reality check. I woke up. Desserts and fruits and things are no longer, I'm not going to have 2 or 3 apples or a couple of bananas or a couple of mangoes. That's done. I might have a piece of one of them with cereal in the morning. That's it. But I made the adjustment. So fortunately, I'm on my own. I had to just had to come up and deal with it. But it brought all the issues up. I had to face it. Now it's just lifting. Whew. So the next year I have Pluto sitting my sun. So I finished with the moon. Now it's confronting my sun. Then I get a clearer run for a longer time. But Pluto piles up on me. But to the moon, it affects health, family, moods, feelings. Oh boy. Yeah, let's just see. 18. 17. Yeah, the year before this, I had to move. Suddenly, I had to change where I'm living in 15 years and get a new place. And the whole year was spent getting this place together. And I just began to feel a bit more together when I started the webinar series. It gave me something to do. But my old habits and my old patterns, I couldn't use them anymore. I had to just, my spiritual habits, I kept my meditations, my Tai Chi, I kept those going. But other living habits and people I knew and things, it all changed. Okay, so I mean, this is how I teach it. Like, it would be nice that when we used to teach them in the class and 20 people were there, everybody said, oh, this happened to me, oh, this happened to me, and it would be just so rich. It would be, wow, look at this. So at some point, if you ever want to review or go over classes, these are videos, but the audio tracks of when I did this were from earlier classes that had that interaction. And they might be worth listening to at some time. Okay, so Pluto to Moon, the outermost planet to the innermost, that's the most extreme. It affects your feelings, your diet, your health, your mood, your family, your instincts, huge things. The whole time, the whole last 2 years, I kept thinking I'm going to get a phone call, my grandson's dead. You know, like all these things were there. Till I finally realized I can't live on my memories. I can't rely on my memories, the moon. If I live in the moment and control the moment, I'm making better experiences now that improve my memories. I can't rely on my morals. I'm not pulled back into bad memories that are making my imagination, my thoughts now dark. So I got my just once more up into the moment and let go of more and more of the past things where I had old judgments and old things, difficult things that happened I was holding on to. I had to let go of angers and frustrations. That was part of the Pluto. To get rid of that, to go on in a more truthful, clearer way. It forced me to grow up. I had to take a stand with my grandson. I didn't want to, but I had to. So these things were all a Pluto moon. It could come from someone being at home, having to get away from kids. It could come from someone that's having a kid, it'd be a fear of losing it, or a fear of power struggles, or who's going to maintain it, or how you're going to deal with it. Like, so many situations this can come up. It comes up that 1 or 2 years in your life, and by the time it's out, you know what it is, and you're worried it's going to get worse, and until it's there, and then when it's there, you know it's that, but you don't know exactly what to do with it, and then you finally push through it. You don't think you can get through it. By the end of it, you say, "Well, I'm glad I got through that." You lost some innocence, but you're moving on with a greater sense of truth. So that expression, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, that really is a Pluto expression. Okay, so moon, like Pluto has its own energy, and Mercury, each planet, and each planet has its own energy. So you're really just merging it like you would for aspects, how one planet affects another. And so with Pluto, your Mercury is your mind, your alertness in the moment, your thinking, you're making sense of things, you're making plans, your physical coordination. Like, if I can do this, my mind is working. It's alert, it's making coordinate, it's alert to the moment, and then anticipating what was past, moon memories, and what's going into the future. It's making sense out of things. It's making up time, making up plans. This is Mercury. So what happens once Pluto's going to take, there's going to be mental power struggles. There's going to be blocks and fights over your ideas. You're going to either be powerfully pushing your ideas or confronted and someone's doing the thinking for you. Do you stand up to what's true or not? There's going to be fights around the way you think, or confrontations to your thing. If it hits physically, it's going to be confrontations to your nervous system, to your nervous nature. But it really is challenges to what's true. If someone's doing the thinking for you, do you stand up for yourself? Do you say your truth? Do you cut quiet? Do you walk off a job? Do you what? Like, actions follow thoughts. So if it's hitting your Mercury, it's going to be having a powerful effect on everything in your life. Now, because it's a mental thing, we don't always remember our mental phases. We go through them, and you don't always see it the same way. But usually strong, powerful ideas will come up, especially on the conjunction, powerful ideas, forced decisions, and confrontation. On the squares, you'll have the confrontations and disagreements. They'll be forced to make decisions, a reality check, and you're having to adjust the way you think because there's a confrontation around it. And the opposition is the same, the challenge to your truth. If you're not true, how do you adjust it? How do you make adjustments around it? The challenge will come from Pluto to the Mercury. Simple concept. Mental reality checks, mental truth or consequences. What happens if you tell a half-truth? Well, a half-truth with Pluto, you could let things slip and tell it and give up a secret, and somebody could be devastated, and they can lead to huge things. This can happen socially, above the horizon, or personally, subjectively, around your own education or thinking, or with parents or whoever's you're attached to for your relativity. So it's challenges to your relative thinking, realistic thinking. So for me, my Pluto went through my 12th, into the 1st, down into the 2nd, leaving the one. I went into Scorpio, my 3rd. It would, where am I here? It would, this is wrong. What happened here? I did this late last night. I did this late in the weekend trying to get this. Yeah. So it comes up, and my first one was a square. Oh no, that's right. Pluto moved up to Scorpio. It was in the square. So it went back and forth first. So that was when my brother was born and my parents died. That was the readjustment of thinking when I was 1 year old. That first hit of Pluto to Mercury, a brother. It's in my 3rd house. And Pluto was fighting confrontations. But the second one, interesting enough, it happened all through '89. I was living with someone for this whole time period, and about and we got married in this, I think May, June of '89. And I just felt it was having trouble, that she needed a commitment. I needed to make a, if I made a commitment to her, it would ground her and make her more stable and more, it was I thought this way. It wasn't exactly true. She didn't want to make that much more commitment, but I thought she needed it. We made the commitment. So we made the commitment. But when we set the marriage date, my mom was coming from Hungary. Her husband, not my dad, her second husband, his son was getting married and was getting married we were getting married on the same week, on the same weekend. And so the confrontation, we had to adjust mentally to change the marriage to the next week, to the week before. I think we changed it to. Well, this was a big confrontation between me and my wife because we changed the wedding date. Then on top of that, I think we went to the, I'm not sure now. I don't even remember which one went first, but I think we went there. And on the wedding day, when we were going to the wedding date at sort of a step cousin, a step brother, I don't know, I guess that's what you call it, at his wedding, my sister pushed my mother. My mother was living with this guy for like 20 years or so. She pushed for them to get married. So she arranged a marriage on that same day in the morning. So she got my mother married that morning, and then the brother was married in the afternoon, and we had to go back and get married. And the next weekend, not everybody came and went. Not everybody came to a few people didn't come to the wedding. It was, my wife was really confronted and challenged by it. It was a very harsh thing to be done. It was a reality, and I'm trying to make the best of it as a Libra can with my Cancer moon and deal with this. But we got through it. But it was a great wedding, but there was a confrontation underneath it. And so lots of stories like that. But so I don't have specific things, but this whole period was going to get the wedding, having to adjust it, the powers, getting married, the repercussions after it. And I went on a tour. I had to go on a book tour just after this. And so all of these things were a harsh note at the beginning of that marriage that affected, challenged how I was thinking, what I thought was right, what she thought was right, what we were going to do, the plans. They were very powerful confrontations. So I'm being nice talking about this. Okay, so like they had their harsh points that set a strong theme. In retrospect, the marriage only lasted a few years after that, and broke on the same issue. My initial judgment was half based on fear. That could be wrong, so we better do this. This week break up, we better get married. And, oh boy, I had to learn that lesson. So you'll see it in different ways. When it was conjuncting my Mercury, it was in my third house of brothers and sisters. So it was a step brother getting married, family coming in. It's right. You could write books about these things, but they really are ways of tuning to where the fear was. What was the truth that came out of it, and how do you deal with it? Okay, so I was too strong in my days. I thought, we got to do this. We're going to do this. We just have to. We'll adjust the wedding. They can have that. They will adjust it. And it was the other funny thing when we got married. We went to a retreat place to go sleep for the night. We get up in the morning in the newspaper in the morning. So I got married the same time at Tenement Square that the guy got run over by the tank. He got the tank. I got the marriage. Still got run over. But it was a funny feeling right at that time. How could I get married? And in terms of worldly events, it wasn't like a great time. It was, oh, gee. There was that Pluto scenario in it as well. And there certainly was in our marriage. Okay. That's the Mercury. Mercury is dramatic if you can tune into how you're thinking and stuff and the ways you're thinking. When you get to Venus, Venus and Mars are much more extreme. I really notice when you get to Venus,